Hello and welcome to my channel, From Profession to Passion, with me, Vicky Mittman. The purpose of this channel is to inform and inspire professionals to live their careers on their terms. Whilst the traditional route in many professions may work well for some, it isn't for everyone, and there are different ways of doing things. On this channel, I'll be sharing my own story of how I combined my profession in law with my passion for coaching and mentoring, and I'll be interviewing other professionals who've developed their own side hustles, changed career directions altogether, or found some other way to involve their passions in their professional lives. I'm delighted today to be joined by Annie Bennett. Annie was a teacher for many, many years, but has since done some quite interesting things. She's had a wedding cake business called Leading Lady Cakes, and more recently, after lockdown or throughout lockdown, created her own Annie Bennett business. So I'd love to hear a little bit more from you, Annie, about what you've done and your journey from teaching to where you are now, if you'd be happy to share.
Oh, of course. Yes, of course. Yes, I started primary teaching in 1989, which seems about 100 years ago now. And I did climb up the ladder. I did become a head teacher. Wow. By the end. And that was around, gosh, when was that? Around 2009, 10, around that time. But there were various things going on domestically with me at that point, and it became too stressful to carry on. So very long story short, I stopped doing that. And it was at that point that I thought, you know, life is too short. I need to be doing something different, because both my parents were both teachers. So I worked out the other day that actually one way or another, I've been in education for like 52 years because you know, when I was tiny, I was in my mum's nursery, and then I was at school myself, and then I went straight into teacher training. So I've never really known anything else. So when I left head teaching, I thought, right, I need to do something else. I need to do something different. And I'd always loved baking. I'd always, you know, been quite creative with that. So I set up Leading Lady Cakes, and the aim was to become a wedding cake bakery. It wasn't right from the start. I sort of set up doing cakes and birthday cakes, and I sold at markets and all those kind of things. But now I'm exclusively wedding cakes. I don't really do anything else. And I did that alongside supply teaching for quite a long time, for quite a few years. But it was lockdown really that forced my hand, because when lockdown came, I was doing a bit of supply teaching to sort of, you know, boost the income. And I had quite a few weddings booked in 2020. Well, of course, in one fell swoop, all of that disappeared, all of it. Oh, my only saving grace was that a teaching agency I knew quite well said, we have a school that needs a teacher to do some part-time hours online, you know, because all the schools were shut during lockdown, but they still needed someone to do that. So I had a few hours a week doing that. But of course, it was a case of, oh heck, what do I do now? So I came across a really good business mentor whose world I sort of entered, and she showed me how to create, you know, a business from what you know. So of course, what I knew at that point was baking. And how to set up a baking business. And so my idea was to actually show other people how to do it, which at the time was quite a good thing to do, because lots of bakers were setting up in lockdown, because there was, you know, all the furlough and, you know, loss of jobs and all sorts of things going wrong. But baking businesses were allowed to trade and were allowed to sell. So I found quite quickly, when I set up my online group on Facebook, lots of people were joining. And I was sort of getting into the thousands of members in a fairly short time, which was quite good. I was quite pleased.
Very good.
And then once I'd done that, I then set up some courses for them to buy into, you know, more specific, in-depth things about baking businesses. And because I also trained as a bookkeeper at one point as well, so I'm able to tell people about tax returns and, you know, those kind of things. So of course I'm able to tell them all about that. yeah, and then I set up a paid membership. So the paid members get more training, and I get experts in to do things like how to do an Instagram reel and GDPR and all those kind of things that I don't personally have a lot of expertise in. But I bring people in to tell my members about. Yeah, and then along the way I wrote the books as well. So I started off with my handbook. That one, got it handy. Wow. And then along the way, it was a case really of listening to the people in my group, because they were building up, and they're right from the start, they were really engaged, which was brilliant. So there were all sorts of conversations, and they'd post all their worries and their, anxieties about their businesses. And from that, I could see what the needs were.
Exactly.
So I was able to, some of the books were created as a result of questions they were asking. And some of the courses that I've set up, again, as a result of the questions they were asking. So it's sort of snowballed from there, really.
Yeah, I think thank you for sharing. And I think that's a really interesting story, and will probably resonate with a lot of people, because on this particular video series, I've interviewed people who have left their professions altogether in the dust and gone into something totally different. And I've also spoken to people who actually have kept a degree of their own professional training and use that still going forward. So the fact that you're still doing some supply teaching, or was able to do that quite short notice during lockdown, I'm sure was valuable for schools you were helping. But also it's good to know that you've still got that skill that can be rolled out if you need the extra income. But also I think it's a lot of your years of teaching will have helped you in these courses that you're designing separately through your business to communicate effectively. That's got to be a really valuable asset.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I won't be teaching anymore, because I actually officially retired last November.
Wow.
I know.
There you go. But now your businesses are going to take all your time. So.
Well, yes, but it was good, because my retirement package meant that I could actually invest some decent money into my business, because I'd been sort of 18 months starting it off and sort of finding my feet and finding my way. But by the time I got my retirement money, I was in a position to go, right, I need to spend this on that. So PR training, sales training, a decent photo shoot, those kind of things, I was able to then get up and running. So I'm now starting to scale up even further what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's nice that I think we use a lot of our skills. So, for example, I help people who are looking at moving away from a profession into their own field of excitement, their passion. And a lot of the people I help are professionals like accountants, lawyers, medical professionals, etc. And they often know a lot about what they need, but they don't apply it to themselves really when they're in business. So the fact that you've had, the teaching helps you from your past, it helps you communicate effectively. Your bookkeeping was useful. Certainly my legal bent is useful as well, because whilst I don't do all the legal work for my clients and everything from data protection, trademarks, terms and conditions, things that people need to know when they're in business, I can help them, point them in the right direction and help them with that, and actually truly understand from a legal perspective what's needed. And that was useful and helpful in my own business as well. So I think our professional lives, even if we do something totally different, are still very valuable in terms of what they offer us.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when my last few years of teaching, because there are fads that come and go, I'm sure there are in every profession, but in teaching, something that came along in the last few years was this idea of growth mindset. And teaching the children that actually, it's basically anything is possible if you put your mind to it, that kind of vibe. And I really got into, learning about that and reading about that. And that is something that I pass on to all the people that I now teach.
You work with. Brilliant.
Yeah, that I work with.
Yeah.
The fact that, you are in control of what you do. It doesn't matter what people around you say. If you believe something's right or true, then it is. Yeah,
and actually living authentically, and not living in a way that you feel that you have to live, that you have to do a certain thing because that's what you're trained for, or that's what you're qualified for, or that's if I step out, what if it all goes wrong? Actually having a growth mindset helps with all of that, because you think, actually I can use these skills and that will benefit me. I can learn new skills, like you said, about PR and sales training. And, I certainly did some work on my mindset as I was coming out of my last law firm. And now I still consult as a lawyer, and I still am a lawyer, but I'm also running a coaching and mentoring business, which 5 years ago would have been an absolute dream. I would never have thought it was happening, and now it is. And in fact, I'm paid the same amount for coaching and mentoring as I am for my legal work, and I would
Wow.
never have thought that was possible. So, you know, I think having that growth mindset now, thinking anything's possible,
Yeah,
you just have to figure out ways to do it. And if it doesn't work perfectly the first time, find another way, and there will be that.
exactly. Yeah,
That's a really
yeah,
helpful mindset. So
yeah. My favorite, I've decided that my favorite 3 words are determination, perseverance, and resilience.
love it.
Because you've got those 3 things,
Yeah.
absolutely anything is possible. And I'm always talking in my group, because I go live in there every week, you know,
Yeah.
if not extras as well. But I'm also always talking about, it doesn't, you know, failures are brilliant. Embrace your failures, embrace your mistakes,
Yeah.
because that's how you learn. I mean, this is the primary teacher coming out, you know.
But it's
And
so
in fact,
true, right?
a lot of teachers, you know, it's physician heal thyself. They don't realize this themselves. They
Yeah.
teach, you know, they're brilliant at teaching children, but applying it to themselves, you know, and realizing that, you know, you start up a business and, oh, it hasn't worked. Well, your options are A, to sit and moan and cry and give up and say, oh, I'm useless, or B, to say, oh, why hasn't it not worked? What am I doing wrong? What can I do right? What do I need to change?
Yeah, what have I learned from those mistakes that I can do it better next time?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a question of, you know, discovering what it is, you know, knowing what's gone right, but more importantly is what's gone wrong.
Yeah. And not
Because
being afraid of it. It's like seeing it as a positive learning experience as opposed to a failure or a mistake.
it's a learning opportunity. I'm
Yeah.
always saying that in my group. Mistakes
Absolutely.
are a learning opportunity.
Well,
So
it's amazing that you said resilience is one of your favorite 3 words, because I'm writing a book on that at the moment. I think it's such a fantastic trait, and you know, resilience comes from so many places, and we all have it. We're all born with some of it, but how that grows and ebbs and flows and gets affected along the way is really fascinating to me. So I'll let you know when I've written my book.
yeah. Oh, well, I'd be really interested to read it, because I think it's something, in my experience of all the bakers that have come into my group, that seems to be the one thing that holds a lot of them back.
Yeah.
You know, they get one bad experience with a customer and that's it. They never want to do it again.
Yeah.
You know,
And that probably comes from feeling like they're already out on a bit of a ledge because they're doing something different, and then they feel very vulnerable or exposed. But actually, you know, building up that resilience all the time is crucial, and we have to keep working on it throughout life, because all the things that come along, particularly all the failures, the good positive experiences that we've had, will still affect us. So I'll let you know about that. But I'm interested, Annie, if you were talking to your 21-year-old self, or if you were talking to a young teacher today who said, you know, I'm not sure if this is the only way I'll if this is the only thing for me, what sort of advice would you be giving them?
Oh, gosh, I think, I mean, in my experience, I mean, the sort of 21-year-old me, as I've just said, was someone who'd been in education for, you know, longer than some, because my parents were in education. And in fact, my mum ran a nursery from my home. So I was right in there. And there was an element through my child, because I was sort of always considered bright and clever, that things came easy to me. So I never really had to sort of fight or struggle to do anything. And I sort of fell into teaching because I knew about teaching, and yeah, that's fairly easy. I can do that, you know.
I wouldn't say teaching easy, but that's because it would be the one thing I'm probably.
Well, it was one of those things that if you're immersed in something and you know the language of it and you know how it ticks, it's so much easier than if you're completely on the outside and you've got no idea how something works. But I mean, at that age, I've always performed. Like you, I'm a singer as well. And I was always on the stage and things. And at 21, I'd have done anything to become a professional actress or singer. That would have been like, you know, I did at one point have an equity card, which was like, you know, I've got an equity card. So I think my message to my 21-year-old self would have been, be determined to be resilient, Annie, because you could do this.
Yeah.
You know,
prove that you can do so many things in your life.
Yeah.
That's a really good message, actually. And I think probably the idea of, you know, keeping that determination, keeping that resilience, and building on those is crucial for success. And it's crucial for success whether you're going to be a teacher, a singer, you know, a wedding cake bakery, or a business mentor going on. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they talk about, you know, talent. I must admit, I'm not someone who believes in natural talent necessarily. There are sort of people have aptitudes possibly for things, but even then I think that might be sort of nurtured from the environment that you're in. You know, if both your parents are Olympic skiers, you're going to be good at skiing, aren't you? You know, there's but there's more the thing of, you know, an Olympic gold takes 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the talent of the person. They don't just sort of get up one morning and think, right, I'm going to go and get a gold. They have to do all the graft and do all the work.
Yeah.
And you see it, you know, in tennis players as well. You know, Andy Murray was up there and it only took a couple of months out for him to go right down the rankings again.
Yeah.
It's not his talent that put him at number one. It was his work and his ethics.
So true. So apart from though learning about how important that determination and perseverance is, I mean, is there anything else you wish you'd known when you were younger that it would be valuable now to tell other professionals who might be looking to change?
Yeah, I think never underestimate the power of the skills that you have developed in your profession. And so it's a question of knowing that the skills that you have in the profession that you've had are really, really valuable, even though you think you might not have any.
Yeah. Or you might just assume that everybody has them, but
you have got skills. I mean, there are things that you can do that you might assume that everyone can do, but don't ever assume that everyone can do what you can do. You know,
absolutely.
You know, even, you know, things like, I mean, I was a primary teacher, so things like you know, talking and engaging a class of children, I could do that easily, not a problem at all. I could talk to, you know, hundreds of children in an assembly and tell them a story, no problem whatsoever. I could also, you know, talk to other teachers about what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have ever said I was an expert in public speaking. But looking back, yeah, I was. I blooming was. And, you know, my ability to tell a story to people, I only realised looking back, oh my gosh, yeah, that was something I really could do. But because of, you know, all the strains and stresses of teaching, and I'm sure it's the same with all the other professions, all the other things and all the hoops you have to jump through, and all the, you've got to get to this level, you've got to achieve this, you've got to do that.
Yeah.
All the things you're really good at are often forgotten.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a really good idea to just, you know, take an hour sometimes and just list all the things that you are good at.
Yeah, including the softer skills. So for example, as a lawyer, you have to listen really carefully to what your clients are saying to actually understand the whole story. You have to be willing to ask sometimes quite challenging questions to get full facts, because the client might assume you know what's going on because of what they've said, but there's often a lot more that you need to gently pull out. And sometimes it can be in a really difficult area of law. It might be in relation to a divorce case, for example, and you live in personal histories. But you know, that process of interviewing clients, you know, actually understanding their position and challenging questions, that's what coaching is. And I didn't realize that I had all those skills from 10 years in law that might actually also be useful in my coaching profession. Now, you know, granted, the questions are different, but that skill of listening first and asking questions and asking clarifying questions and helping someone to really summarize their point or to get to the point that's really important, that was important in law, and it's important in coaching. So you're right, even something that you don't think of as a trained skill in that profession, something you've picked up along the way because of how you have to deliver your service, is still really valuable as well. Breaking down complicated problems and making them manageable is something lawyers do. It's also something coaches do. So, you know, I can absolutely, I think that's a really great suggestion. I wish I'd spoken to you years ago when I was thinking about this.
It all applies to teachers, what you've just said as well. You know, a teacher's job is to ask questions and to, you know, ask open questions and get the children to realise what they know. That is a real skill, being able to do that. And most teachers don't realise they have that skill.
No, in abundance probably as well. That's brilliant, Annie. Thank you for your thoughts on that. I really enjoyed hearing about your story. I'm sure a lot of people will resonate. If anyone wants to get in contact with you, is there a way they can do that? Can they find you on Facebook or find it?
Yes, I've got half a ton of social media because of all the different things I do, but my business, my training business is Annie Bennett Business on Facebook and Instagram, and anniebennett.co.uk, the website. And the wedding cake side, the green mask there, is Leading Lady Cakes, look up that and you'll find me in various places.
Brilliant. Well, I'll hopefully tag you when I send the video out as well, so hopefully people will be able to find you. And I know that we met because you were giving up your time to help other people in business doing this, so I think Annie would be a great bet for anyone who's got questions about it. Please feel free to reach out, and certainly as always reach out to me too. But Annie, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
Thank you for watching this video, and I hope it's provided some food for thought. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe below and feel free to like or comment. I'd love to know what you think. If you're interested in hearing more about this, please join my Facebook community, From Profession to Passion with Vicky Mittman. I'll see you next time.